Welcome to a video that is a guide designed to help you buy gifts for those people around you that are into working on their own cars or trucks. And probably not for somebody that does this as a career job, but a hobbyist or enthusiast. And if you're also one of those buyers that asks all the time, well, what do you want? What do you like? What do you want? And you get no answer from them, this might kickstart your process. The one thing I'm going to promise you here is none of the items in this video are sponsored. I'm not shilling anything for anybody, and there's no coupon codes, any of that crap. This is just to help. And take this information, do what you want with it, buy it from wherever you want, but hopefully it helps. Let's get started. The first thing I can recommend being in most enthusiast garages is torque wrenches. And typically you want two. A 1/2-inch drive, which is this big boy right here. This is what you would use for torquing lug nuts or bigger jobs. And then you have a 3/8-inch drive, which you would use for under the hood or smaller suspension bolts. But the big thing with these is, if you're not using it all the time, I like these click type torque wrenches. And I use one by CDI, which is available on Amazon, and it's a division of Snap-on, but it's way less expensive. But I've had this for 5 years, and it's super reliable, it still calibrates. The only thing you have to do when you're done is screw it back down to 0, put it in the case, and it should last forever. I've gone away from using digital torque wrenches in just an enthusiast setting where I don't use it all the time, because I've had some where I go in the toolbox and the battery's dead. And, you know, I haven't used it in 2 years and now I can't use it at all until I find a new battery or the circuit board's gone bad. This is just kind of tried and true. So that's why I recommend it. The next thing I recommend is a tire pressure gauge. And I know a lot of new cars have tire pressure monitoring, but sometimes it's just nice to have one in the car. And if you're an enthusiast, you know, somebody that's more into doing car stuff, I like something like this from Longacre Racing, and you can get pretty much any type, but the ones that come with a case are really nice because you're not going to drop it. You know, like this one has a huge face on it, so like if you're older, you can read this without your glasses. There's no, you know, digital stuff here again where you need batteries. You have to worry about if it's going to work. You just put it back in the case. As long as you take care of it, it's going to last. And you can get something like this again on like Amazon for 30 to 50 bucks. Basically anything under 20 bucks is going to be cheap. And if you're just looking for something generic to keep in your car all the time, well, you can just get a cheap one too. Now the next item might be a little weird if you wrap this up and give it to somebody as a solo gift. They might assume you're trying to get them to do a colonoscopy on you, but no. When you're working on cars, you want to have hand protection, at least a little bit, and latex or nitrile gloves really help. Now, Turbowski, who works on cars all day, has switched to Kirkland brand, and this is from Costco of all places, and he says he's been through all these expensive gloves, and these tend to work the best, and they're more affordable. They stretch really well, they are exposed to a ton of chemicals, and he said these last better than most of the gloves that are designed for working on cars, so think about that. Now this next recommendation also comes from Scott. When you're working on cars all day in a dark area, you want to be able to see, and if you can't, you get pissed off quick. So a clamp light or a magnetic light that is rechargeable, which you can just stick it somewhere, turn it on, and look at that. Instant gratification. Now the big thing is make sure it's rechargeable, obviously, because you're going to be using it a lot, and that way you can put it in a stand or whatever, and it's ready to go. Now the next two items I've used more than pretty much anything I've bought, and that is electric impact guns, which looks like this. It kind of looks like a drill, but this is designed for kind of heavy duty work around the shop. And you combine this with a set of sockets for like wheel lugs and torque sticks, and I use this so often to take wheels and tires off. It makes small work of it. And I use the DeWalt one because it's really small form factor. It doesn't make a ton of power, but that's what you get something like this Milwaukee M18 fuel, which is really heavy, but it'll bust anything loose. It's as close to an air gun as you can get. But this is a really good idea. Again, 1/2-inch impact, electric impact, and there's a ton of them out there, but I like DeWalt and Milwaukee. The next one might seem strange, but it has been one of the most handy tools I've had. And this is an electric or a plug-in air compressor. And what is that? Well, you get these little air hoses and you can fill up your little blow-up dolls, your lawn ornaments, you can fill up your bike tires, your regular tires, and this means you don't have to go to a gas station. Most of us don't have a big ass air compressor in the garage, and this is just portable enough to put in a cabinet or a shelf when you're done with it, and then just take it out when you need it. Now here's an interesting one. If you know somebody that doesn't like to turn wrenches or get their hands dirty, what about formal wear? And I'm talking about driving shoes. That's right, people actually buy these, and it's a nice addition. If you know somebody who's a bro that likes to drive around in flip-flops in their Jeep or in their Ferrari, consider this. It turns your regular driving into something a little bit more exotic. And truthfully, there's some benefits to this. If you're on a road trip, there's huge heel support, so you're not getting a sore heel, and some other things about this if you know somebody that likes to drive. But again, another idea. Now the next one can be cheap or expensive depending on how you look at it or your budget. If somebody you know works in a garage, one of the most important things to have is a really good jack. And before I had my own lift from BenPack, I used these OTC low-profile aluminum race jacks. And typically they're called low-profile aluminum race jacks, and you can get this pretty much under any car. And I did almost all my work off of 2 of these. Now the thing is, your better jacks like this are going to be over $150 typically. Like this OTC was well over $200. Now you can get cheaper ones, aluminum ones from like Harbor Freight. You just need to know, you probably don't want to use those for critical work if you're doing a lot of stuff. But if somebody's just in the garage once in a while, going cheaper might be better. But just know you kind of get what you pay for. The next step up from there is BenPack, which the manufacturer of this lift makes something called a quick jack. And they're pretty portable. You kind of lay them out, set them up, and you can put it on both sides of the car, and it raises it up about this much, which gives you a lot more clearance than like a typical floor jack. And this is for something that somebody's doing a lot more work on their car, and then you can put it away when you're done. And then BenPack just made something recently called the Grand Prix lifts. And these are designed for like a regular residential garage. So if you have a residential garage that you don't have tall ceilings and you can't fit this monstrosity in there, it will go up like 5 feet and still get your car up in the air enough where you can work on it, and they're affordable enough where you could potentially, still get it in somebody's garage. But we're talking about thousands of dollars at that point, again, once you start getting outside of this. So, something to think about if you have a bigger budget. Last but not least, give the gift of driving. And even if somebody you know thinks they're a great driver, chances are they'll learn something from one of these. The Bondurant Racing School, Skip Barber, or the Porsche Driving Experience in Atlanta. Now, of course, these are more expensive and somebody would have to travel. So you can also look for local indoor go-karting tracks or outdoor. Get a gift card for one of these, and there's so much somebody can learn from go-karting, and then, of course, it can be fun too if you're going with other people. So hopefully these items help. If you have any ideas of your own, post them below, and we'll see you in the next video.
This savage geese, I hate him, I hate him. I'm gonna show you how to get back at him on Yelp and all that other stuff.
Yeah, right. Look. Ah! Fucking tear! Ah! Yeah, look at all the motors. Bondurant Racing, Skip Barber, or the Porsche Driving Experience in Atlanta. Now, fucking annoying.